Here's a brief introduction of American Civil War Commander setup. As you can see, all the pieces are set up for the beginning of the game. The calendars have been filled up. Each place has a name for the army there. Some of them have two armies or more, three. And then you have the smaller units, which are the departments and militia. You also have the corps. Each one of these represents roughly a corps. And the Union has certainly more corps than the Confederacy. This gives you a chance to see the huge advantage that the Union has. The Virginia area, which is the large-scale map here, has not too many forces. It's McClellan with the Army of Northeastern Virginia, and J. Johnson with the Army of the Shenandoah. A little bit weaker, less corps as well. These things here are garrisons. You can't really go and attack without going through them and destroying them first. That's why they're there. So it's not like the North and South can just put a hole through the so-called front line right away. There's two departments here, Delaware and Maryland, Virginia, and then some more spread out because the Confederacy and this map has a lot more area to defend. There's Florida and a few other departments, Texas, which is placed here because we can't go further west, and you can see the garrisons are there as well. The North does have an advantage in numbers there too, but it's not easy to go through here because of the garrisons and the forts. Ships, you can see they got ironclads here. They got two fleets over there. They only had about 3 functioning ships at the beginning of the war. And another one here in Baltimore. And the Confederacy doesn't have any significant warships except for a group of ironclad here. So they're really outnumbered, and you can see the shipyards. Throughout the game, the Union can buy all of these. They're very expensive, but there's that availability. The Confederacy can't really match that in any way. It's even doubtful that they can buy more than 2 of these warships, but they can get more ironclads. Commanders are laid out except the ones that have been already deployed. And you also have these secondary commanders. They all have a black triangle. That means if they lose a battle, if they're annihilated in a battle, they're off the game completely. These were less reliable or less tested. Men, every time you deploy armies or departments or corps, these numbers go down. The Union starts with 120 and the Confederacy with 50 only. So you can see, of course, the northern population is far superior as well. You got artillery behind some of the units, cavalry spread out. The economy as well, you can see some supply cubes already in the cities. It's 1 per city. The Union has all of those. The Confederacy has a lot less. And also in the resource box here, these are the ones that you deploy, these supply cubes. The Union has a lot more as well. The finance log is well marked as well. Political level, Confederacy is actually better there. Trade level, the Confederacy is also up there compared to the Union at the moment because they relied on foreign trade. Currency, both of them have the same level up here. It's whichever side uses currency inflation more, then this level starts going down, and it's a bit detrimental. Taxes, USA starts with 1, Confederacy starts with less because they didn't really use that at the beginning. And even, the United States, generally speaking, did not rely on taxes initially as much as it did on tariffs. Tariffs seem to be pretty popular in American politics even today. The Union has more credit as well because they have more industry, and now this country's at war. They're not going to, the world doesn't think they're going to make it, so the credit is a bit low. And both start with the same level of lands. Land is not really something that is sold too much throughout the game,
but every time you sell it, these levels go down.
Cards are shuffled and placed in the new card deck. Then they will be distributed as you pick them, 5 per turn. And of course, we already have a small victory at Fort Sumter.
The only units to be aware of are the foreign ones. There's very small chance that they make it into the game. Perhaps some of the naval units, the French and especially the British, might make it. Here is the Russian as well. 160 years ago, the Russians weren't meddling into American politics as much as today. The French would be on the Confederate side, but there's a very small chance that they would actually join the war. There's even a smaller chance that Britain would join the war, but if it did, it could do so on the Union side, or less likely, much less likely, on the Confederate side. So you got both choices there.
The remaining components are these tokens. Each one represents 100 points, so you get 10 cubes out of them. It just makes, things easier. There's a 6 or 8 depending on which game you have. There's the timers for combat and movement, little range stick here and pointer. The timer for other parts of the game, including the naval battles, and your bucket of dice. Some games have red and blue, others are just white, but they do pretty much the same thing. These games always have these components, no matter which game you have. Pieces come in these containers here. It's long because that way you can put it right beside the board and it doesn't take up a lot of room. You put one on each side of the board, and there's 2, 1 per side.
We're looking at almost 600 pieces. Doesn't look like it now, but remember, you got all those armies to deploy and some more pieces here. I'm including, of course, these as well. It's not a complex game, not really, but it is a very busy and very specific, very detailed game, hence the pieces.